Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Reclaim Your Voice podcast. My name is O'Neill Gerald Donald, your resident vocal coach, and we're out here turning forgettable singers into unforgettable vocalists. I'm so happy that you have joined me today because we are still in the business of getting to the bottom of what's not working in your voice journey, allowing you to understand more of how you can reclaim your own voice and use your voice in a way that actually helps you to share your message. Here we give you the tools to be able to help you to stop losing your voice, break your bad singing habits, and find your own unique sound, right? This is an amazing time that we've had over the last 4 episodes. This is our 5th episode, and it's going to be the final installment of our series where we've been talking about your voice not belonging to you. We talked about I need to even remind myself. We talked about the signs that your voice doesn't belong to you. We talked about the strain of when your voice doesn't belong to you. And now we're going to talk about the places and people that your voice belongs to instead of you. The reason why we need to talk about this is because it's not just that we need to, well, first of all, we're establishing a foundation as to what it means to reclaim your voice, why you need to reclaim your voice. But we're also establishing just a really a disillusionment, a level of awareness to the situation that you're actually in when you're not using your voice the way that you want to. And in that case, you're needing to reclaim your voice. So that's why we're talking about your voice not belonging to you. In the signs, we talked a little bit about what it looks like when your voice doesn't belong to you. In the strain, we talked about what it feels like when your voice doesn't belong to you. So I want you to go and check out those other episodes. But today we're going to talk about the people and the places that your voice belongs to instead of you. Because if your voice doesn't belong to you, then you've given it away. You've given your autonomy up to factors and people and things that are not you. It really, like, the entire conversation and the entire idea of your voice not belonging to you, like I've said before, it's something that you wouldn't think is natural. It's something that you would think is completely preposterous because my voice box, my larynx, sits inside of my body, and so therefore it is my voice, right? No. If you're not using your voice to further the message that you've been called to share with the world, then you're not using your voice in the way that you're not using your voice for your own purposes. You're using it for the purpose of others, and therefore your voice has become enslaved to the purposes of others. And those other purposes are what we're going to be talking about today. So I have a list of 5 people and places that your voice belongs to instead of you. The list is probably even bigger than just this right now, but we're just kind of narrow it down to these 5 things and people that, or places and people and things that your voice belongs to instead of you. So the first person, and this is going to be a person right now, or people, the first people that your voice belongs to instead of you, or people that you gave your voice instead of you, is your music director and or your band. Now, and this is something that you really get, especially in the church world, where you have a lot of people that are singing praise and worship on a Sunday. They're singing in the choir on on a Sunday, and whatever happens musically to the church, and I'm not even just talking about choir. Let's not even put choir in this. Let's even specifically talk about praise and worship teams and bands that are led by someone that is not the singer. A musical director is somebody that basically tailors, arranges, and curates the musical moments that happen in whatever space, whether that's in church, whether that's in concerts or whatever. The MD is the person that through is the person who allows all of this stuff to happen. They communicate the language of the band to the singer, and they communicate the language of the singer to the band. And then, frankly, if your voice belongs to the music director, the singer is actually not really doing any of the communicating. It's really just the MD just furthering their own agenda, and they're using your voice to do it. Now, it's funny because, like, in the professional world, there are a lot of people that give the vocal situation, or let's even talk about the instrumental situation. They'll give the instrumental responsibilities to somebody so that they can handle the band, and the band can be ready to support the singer. However, when the music director steps into the position of using and manipulating and controlling, that's the word I'm looking for, controlling the voices that are supposed to be served by the music, what they're doing is they're using their own understanding of what singing is, which often can be not as much as the singer, but they're using their own understanding of singing to control the musical situation to be what they like it to be. One example of this is key. If singers, depending on the song that they sing, might just need to change the key for their own comfort, or not, whether it be for their comfort or whether it just be for just them being able to sing in general, period. But what can happen is, if a music director, like, and this is not usually the case, but if, for say, a musical director did not know how to play in a certain key and they only knew how to play in one key, first of all, they would probably use the transpose button. But if they don't have a transpose button to their advantage, yeah, it can happen that they actually manipulate the singer to be in the place where they're comfortable, rather than actually serving the singer and serving the song. And serving the song means singing the singer that's singing it. The person that's doing the communicating is the singer, not the music director. So if you're not having an autonomy over your voice to say, this is what my voice needs, or you don't even know what your voice actually needs in terms of key, in terms of musical situation, right? What you're doing is you're giving away your voice to the mercy of whoever is controlling the musical situation. And the thing with that is that when you leave your voice to the mercy of someone else, you are either going to be prospered or perishing. Let me find another way to say it. You're either going to be uplifted by the person who has control over the situation, or you're going to be made subservient to whatever their agenda is, or whatever their skills are, right? And so that's not something that you ever really want to do, especially if you are in the mode of reclaiming your voice. You want to be able to have an autonomy over your voice, where you're able to voice what your voice needs. I know. You're able to say what your voice needs, and you're able to actually put yourself in this situation to say to the music director what you need, because the singer is the most important part of the band. If there's no singer, then there is no band. Now, there are instrumental bands, but you definitely aren't going to have something that is a message that's going to be communicated through words and through lyrics, right? So a music director or the band is the first person that your voice can belong to instead of you, or people you gave your the first type of person that you could give your voice away to. The second thing that you can give your voice away to is actually your sound situation. And this is something that I don't really hear talked about a lot. Maybe it's talked about in passing. Maybe it's here. Maybe it's there. Maybe it's everywhere a little bit. But I don't really hear it talked about. But basically, what your sound situation is really, like, to make it simpler, it's really, can the singer hear themselves? Can they not hear themselves? And that's really that's really what's determining whether you're in a good sound situation or not, or whether your sound situation is actually taking ownership of your voice or not. Because if a singer can't hear themselves, right, they're putting themselves in a position to over sing or to push their voice beyond its limit. Let's even kind of break this down a little bit more. Sound, because of technology, we are now using energy to amplify sounds, right? We're not using the natural volume that is in certain instruments. If we were, then singers would get drowned out by whatever band was actually just playing their hearts out, right? And that's why we have microphones. Microphones are a part of that amplification process. Now, in the amplifying process, there is a term that's called mixing, right? And mixing is just simply the prioritization of different sounds above others in the amplification process. Now, if the amplification process gets in the way of a singer hearing themselves, then a singer is actually not in control at all, and their voice is actually belonging to the sound situation that they put themselves in. And here's why. Because especially just depending on the venue that you're playing, if you're playing a big stadium, if you're playing a club, if you're not able to hear yourself and you're overblowing your voice, you're putting yourself in a position to be hoarse. Now, the way that you can do that, or the way that you can potentially not hear yourself, is if there are no monitors, if there isn't a monitoring system, and not even just a monitoring system, but a monitor system that is for the voice, right? So if I'm singing and I'm, and my voice is being amplified, the band's being amplified, but I'm not getting a personal amplification or a personal monitoring system to actually help me to hear myself, I have no idea what my voice sounds like, and therefore I don't know. I can feel how much I am working in, or if I've memorized, how I want to sing the song. Maybe I can put myself in the situation to mimic, if I could hear myself, as it mimic and just replicate the feeling in my body. I can do that to actually get myself through a live situation, but chances are I'm going to find myself screaming or overusing my voice to try and fight the amplification. And if you put the human voice against any amplified sound, the amplified sound is going to win, unless you turn down the levels, put in as a part of the mixing process, you adjust the levels to where the singer is. Now, if a singer doesn't have the ability to communicate that they cannot hear themselves, or if they don't even realize that they're actually not hearing themselves, they don't realize they're actually putting their voice in a position to not be used for their own purposes. They're putting their voice on a time bomb, like on a timer, so to speak, where it's only just a matter of time where I'm singing through the set and I end up blowing out my voice, right? So what we're doing when we don't properly advocate for our voices, and we're putting our voices in a situation to be overused and therefore being put in a hoarse situation, right? This is why we have in-ear monitors. This is why we have stage monitors. But even then, you need to continue to advocate for an optimal sound situation. And if you don't, you've actually given away your voice and your message to the sound situation rather than it being used for your own purposes, right? That's the second thing. The third thing that your voice can belong to instead of you is your repertoire or your song catalog. A lot of people don't realize that song choice is actually a really big part of creating an optimal singing situation for yourself. And a lot of people are just out here choosing songs that just do not work for their voices. And they don't do it because they are inexperienced to singing wise, but they do it because they like the song and they want to sing the songs that they like. And I think we should sing songs that we like. But when the repertoire isn't, if the repertoire or the catalog is not being adjusted to the voice of the singer, again, you're giving away ownership. You're giving away your autonomy to the situation that the song will put you in, right? So if I am not the greatest belter, but I'm choosing songs that require me to belt for long periods of time, or belting is something that's I'm still working on, I'm putting myself in a situation again to end up hoarse, right? And so I've given away my voice to another situation. Like, if a situation or something is causing your voice to become hoarse, there immediately needs to be a reevaluation. There immediately needs to be a ding 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 ding. We need to figure out what's going on in this situation, because if I'm getting hoarse, I'm not putting myself in this situation to sing. But I've seen a lot of singers just power through it, and they don't actually try to solve the problem. They just like, oh, okay, I guess this is just what it is. I'm gonna sing the song in the original key because that means that I'm still at my best, or I'm still at the place that I need to be, and yeah, it's just everything's just hunky dory. No, 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 no. If you're getting hoarse, it's time to reevaluate, right? And this podcast is a part of that evaluation process. So you can end up giving yourself away and giving your voice away to the repertoire that you actually are singing, if your repertoire doesn't fit your voice, right? And it can fit, and it can be a conversation about key. It can be a conversation about it can be key, but it's also about the placement of the melody. There's so many different things that are to be considered in the song process. And if you're not putting yourself in that in the optimal situation by making the right choices in terms of your songs, you're giving your voice away to your catalog, and you're not allowing yourself to use your voice for your own purposes. Right. Now, the fourth thing that your voice can belong to, and this is the fourth thing, is your mindset. And I've started to see a few more people start to talk about the fact that this is important, but people don't realize how important this is. You sing, and I think I may have mentioned this in a prior podcast episode, but your voice is an instrument that you cannot play by looking at keys and plucking the keys like you would on a piano, or looking at the strings and plucking the strings. You literally move your voice with your brain, and that's it, right? So who's to say that if there is some extra traffic that is running through your mind at any given time, that would not affect your brain's ability to use your voice in an optimal way, right? Let's put it this. Sure, this isn't necessarily scientific, but we can use this as an example. Like, say you're trying to sing, and then all of a sudden you start crying and you feel sad, right? Your brain is giving energy to expressing the emotion that is causing you to cry, right? And at the same time, which is impeding your ability to sing, right? So there's and depending on the situation, and now that's just an emotional situation. But say you had something that was causing you trauma, something that was causing you a level of grief or remorse, or and I don't know, maybe even excitement. There are some times that and actually definitely excitement, because sometimes when we get super excited, we overthrow our voices, right? So there are so many things that can happen in our brain and through our brain that affect our voices. Now, in addition to emotions, but our voice can be affected by the mindset that we have concerning our singing. Right? Whether or not we believe we can sing, whether or not we like the sound of our own voices. If we put ourselves in a situation to resist the sound that is coming out, do you hear the words that are coming out of my mouth? Anyway, sorry, just had to say that. But if we find ourselves resisting the sound that's coming out of our voice box that we're actually producing, if our brain has a response to that sound that isn't positive, then best believe our brain is going to fight creating that sound, right? It's like fight or flight response, right? If you find yourself in a fearful situation, you either freeze or you'll flee, right? And that's just a response, that your brain has created, right? Singing can be all the more the same. What if it's the singing that's causing the fear? Right? your brain is not going to want to put yourself in that situation. But until you cure the mindset, what you're doing is you're giving your voice away to the mindset, and you're not allowing yourself to use your voice for your own purposes and for your message, right? Now, that topic is probably something that could be expanded for a longer period of time, but we have a limited amount of time for the podcast. So book a voice breakthrough call with me if you really want to be able to talk about that. And the last one is something that I've mentioned before, and I have mentioned in prior episodes rather, but the last place that I want to talk about that your voice can belong to instead of you is other people's opinions. So in that case, it would be other people and their opinions that your voice would belong to instead of you. I feel like in a social media age, our singing is based on whether or not someone else will hear us and whether or not someone else likes our sound. And it has very little to do with if we like our own sound or if we like the act of singing or enjoy it, right? We give the right to sing, and we give even the what's the word? We let only the people that can please other people be the ones that deserve to sing. This I can't stand this. We say that it's only the people that sound at a certain caliber that should have the ears of an audience, right? And I understand sometimes people don't sing in tune, and sometimes people, they're not necessarily as pleasant to listen to. But that does not determine whether or not somebody can choose to actually sing, right? But what do? When someone asks us to sing, we're like, oh yeah, I can't really sing. I can't sing. Please, I can't sing. And we've made this a part of our language. A lot of you, and a lot of you are even singers, because this podcast is mainly for singers and people that actually don't actually will continue to sing. But a lot of us that actually do sing actually just believe what other people are saying. Well, we believe inwardly that we can't sing either, right? Isn't that preposterous? You make beautiful sounds and people tell you that you sound amazing, right? But you don't even believe that you can sing. But let's go back to the topic. We determine whether or not we deserve to sing on if we sound great to somebody else. And I find that absolutely preposterous. And even saying it out, hearing it out loud, wouldn't you say that that's preposterous as well? Shouldn't people just be able to have autonomy over their own bodies? Like, we talk a lot about, people being able to have autonomy over their own bodies. Why shouldn't you not have autonomy over your voice? Why shouldn't you be able to have ownership over your voice that isn't submitted to what somebody else says or what somebody else thinks of what you do, right? To give your voice away to somebody else when your voice lives inside of your body absolutely makes no sense. And that's part of the reason why I have now created time to talk to you guys personally, one-on-one, about any of these things that you've given your voice away to, whether it be a sound situation, whether it be a musical director, whether it be your own repertoire or catalog, or your mindset, or other people's opinions. It's time for you to reclaim your voice, to get your voice back, to reclaim the autonomy that you have over your own voice. I love that word, autonomy. I've been using it for the last 2 weeks. I love this word because it says, to me, the word says that it's not about what other people say, and it's not about what other people do, but it's you being able to have ownership over your voice and ownership over what your voice can do, right? And if you're someone that is looking to be able to have ownership over what your voice can do and over your voice, period, I want you to book a call with me at reclaimyourvoice.ca/call. I want you to go to reclaimyourvoice.ca/call because I want to have a conversation with you about where your voice is at. And I want to see if we can bridge the gap between you not owning your voice and you being able to express your voice in its fullest of potential in terms of its sound, but also with a full ownership that runs boldly and very deeply inside of you in your body. So book a call with me at reclaimyourvoice.ca/call. Let's make this a conversation. I'm so glad that we were able to talk about this. This 3-part series is now coming to an end. We're probably going to talk about something else, but that's voice related. But I thank you so much for hanging in there and hearing about what it means for your voice not to belong to you. We're going to continue to talk about this, and we'll continue to actually refer back to this concept now that we've set a foundation as we go through this podcast. But I just want you to know that even though your voice box is in your body, you could still be giving away your voice. So yes, book a call with me at reclaimyourvoice.ca/call, and also subscribe to this podcast if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on Spotify or wherever. Subscribe and follow this podcast so that we can help you to reclaim your voice. I will see you all in the next episode. Or I did it again. Okay, there will be a time that I actually don't do this. I will talk to you in the next episode. You won't necessarily see me, or I won't necessarily see you, but we will chat again in the next episode of the Reclaim Your Voice podcast. I'm O'Neal Gerald Donald, and I'll talk to you all soon. Okay? Bye, everyone. Keep reclaiming your voice.